language and literacy. So we have Joanne Allison, who's actually our program director. She also has a lot of experience as a speech and language pathologist. So she's going to review this material with you guys today. It was created by one of our speech therapists, Bernadette. So I'm going to hand everything over to Joanne. And thanks again for joining us.
Hi, everyone. Well, as Danielle said, my background is speech language pathology. And so I'm just so excited and thrilled today to get to put that hat on and talk about one of my very favorite topics. Bernadette did prepare this PowerPoint. So I'm fortunate that she did the work. I just get to have all the fun. But you are fortunate indeed to have Bernadette. She is just tremendously experienced and knowledgeable and talented and skilled. And the same with Pam and Kathleen. I've gotten to witness them at work, and they are passionate about your children. They are passionate about their work, and it's an honor for me to work with them. So
I have to just say real quick, May is Better Speech and Hearing a Month. So it's very timely that we're having this presentation as well.
Perfect. I thought you'd planned that. All right, so we're going to talk about language and literacy. And really, language is so much fun. It's the best way to interact with your child. And you can build this into everything that you do. So we're going to talk about that. So here are all the kinds of activities: books, read, storytelling. You can embed language and literacy, and especially language, into everything you do with your child throughout daily routines. Really important that they start learning sound letter association. What that means is language it has symbols, it has letters, it has words, and those symbols have sounds that go with them. And your child has to learn how to associate that symbol or what they see visually with the sound that goes with it. And they learn sounds, and then the sounds become words, and then the words become sentences. Songs and rhymes, kids really do learn well through songs and rhymes and singing. Rhyming is a wonderful way for them to learn how to use the language and play with it and develop it. And of course, using language just in play. There are a million ways in a day. Read. Reading fosters closeness, nurturing, connections. I love sitting that child on your lap or next to them, or reading to them at night before they go to sleep. It's such a warm, intimate, connected time. And this is how they learn to love reading and literacy and associate it with human relationships and fun and warmth. It's all good. So these are some kind of favorite books that are in most children's libraries. I've read most of these to my children. And currently I am keeping my 4-year-old granddaughter. So I'm living your life a little bit this last couple of weeks, and what a pleasure and a joy and how much fun we've had with reading. So if any of you might feel comfortable, do you have some thoughts or memories, ideas about what you remember from your childhood as your favorite book, or a time you had with your parents reading? Would you like to share about a favorite book you have or a favorite memory you have?
I can share. So I don't know if it was, I guess it was my mom reading. We used to read a lot of like Shel Silverstein poems when I was younger. I remember these big fat books and the silly poems. And I did buy some of those books for my kids. I have 2 young kids. But a book that I share a lot with my son, he's 8 now. When he was younger, and the baby, who's 2, The Giving Tree. So that was one of our favorite books. So yeah, they're ours.
Do any of you have a memory or a favorite book from your childhood that you would like to share? I don't want to put anybody on the spot, just if you feel comfortable I mean, just over this last week with my grandchild, it was interesting. We read every night as I'm putting her to sleep, but she found this earlier, younger book. We have lots of books everywhere, and she delighted in reading the book to me. So, she was very, I read it to her first. And then because it was a little bit simpler below her level, she was able to pick up on the pictures and the words and really wanted to read it to me and had so much fun doing that. And she has wanted to do that over and over again. And then this morning, right before I came to work, we had this older book. It's a book on bugs, and it has real pictures of bugs in it and stories that are higher than her level. But from the pictures and from what she knows about bugs, she set me down and said, I'm going to read to you. You have to be quiet now and listen. And she went through all of these pictures of the bugs, and she made up stories and what she knew about bugs. And the delightful thing for me is to find out how much she knew about bugs and their lives and how many bugs she could name. So kids love to be able to read to you as well as you reading to them. So do any of you have a story like that of your children wanting to read to you or wanting to be the teacher and you be the student? Okay, well, I know it's sometimes kind of not so comfortable to be sharing on Zoom. So just, think about times like that because they're so important. So literacy and communication and reading, it's more than just words and pictures. So encourage your child to turn the pages and talk about what they see. Use your finger to guide your child's eyes from left to right across the page as you read. And then stop and point out certain words that maybe they know or phrases. I noticed when my granddaughter was reading to me, she was moving her finger from left to right across the page. And I went, oh, she's gotten it. That's pre-reading skills. Kids, they need to understand that it starts at the left and moves to the right. And you scan with your eyes and you scan with your finger. Encourage your child to take the lead with reading. So ask them, where do we start? Every so often, just stop reading and ask your child what they think will happen next. What that helps support is building what we call abstract thinking. It's a higher level thinking. It's predicting. It's using what we know from the story, what we can see in the pictures, and asking them to think about what's going to happen next. Can you predict? Can you kind of read between the lines? And that's an important skill for those developing those abstract thinking skills. Link the books with real life. For example, if you've read a book about playing in the park, you might like to take your child to the park after you read the book and, talk about the book and how it relates to what you're doing in the park. The more you can relate books to real life, the more meaningful it is. Point out the swings and say they look like ones in the book. And then encourage your child to pretend, to act out the story. And that's great with a lot of these children's books. I'm thinking of the Llama Llama books. Those Llama Llama books, this is clearly a little child that's a llama, and the mother, is a llama. And sometimes I've seen that little llama have a temper tantrum. And we can ask kids, once we've read the story, to act it out. See what they come up with. It's really fun to see what their imagination creates. They can hop like a kangaroo or a frog. So this is Bernie's PowerPoint. She does have a cute little video here of her grandchildren. And of course, Bernie reads to her grandchildren a lot, and she happened to just catch that one of her grandchildren had picked up the book and was reading it to her sister. and captured this on video. Sorry about that. Trying to get that to play. Let me go back. Kind of jumped forward on me. Hold on. I must have hit it in just the wrong place. Here we go again. All right, I'm going to go back to this video and see if I can grab this again. So hopefully if I hit this play, it's going to play this little video. That's so adorable. And kids love to read to other kids or to you. So when we ask children questions about what we're reading, if we stop during the reading and ask them questions, we help them engage more with the material, and encourages this thinking and this abstract thinking I was talking about. It helps them learn more about storytelling, helps them to learn the vocabulary, make it their own. And it also sparks their curiosity. So you can ask your child to use the pictures and illustrations, and that gives them clues to what each page is talking about before you read it. So you might stop and say, what is this picture? What's going on here? Tell me what's happening in this picture. What do you think is happening in the story? You can ask your child, how would you feel if you were in that character's shoes? What if that was you? Tell me how you would feel. Would you make the same choices? Would it be fun if you were in the book? Ask your child maybe to find their initials or their name or a letter from their name at least once in every book you read. And this is easy. Try seeing if you can find a word, a simple word that they could find and you could read with them. Ask your child to tell you in their words what happened in the book. This skill is called retelling, and it's a fundamental skill in building reading comprehension. So after you finish the book, ask your child, tell me the story in your own words. Tell me what happened. What was the beginning? What was the middle? And how did it end? Before reading, ask your child what they think the book will be about. You can look at the pictures on the cover or in the pages and go, look at this picture. What's happening? What do you think this book is going to be about? Those are all ways to build that abstract thinking and that the basis for communication. So this is such a cute picture. This is actually Bernie's father. And you can see he's dressed up here. And she has such warm memories. He was a storyteller. And she has warm, wonderful memories of him telling her stories. And he would sometimes, take her to school and tell stories on the way to school. You can use times throughout the day to tell stories about your family or stories about things that you've read. You can use the classics such as Goldilocks and the Three Bears and Three Little Pigs. If you don't like the classics, you can just tell a story from your favorite book. You can retell the events of the day. A lot of times when I'm with my grandkids and we've had a big day, I'll sit down with them and go, what did we do today? Can you remember? Can you tell me? What was it you liked the best? Or was there any part of it maybe you didn't like as much, and why? You can say, remember when with your children. Say, remember when we did that? Remember when we went to the shore? Remember when we went to that family gathering? Remember that picnic? What did we do? They love hearing stories about your childhood. And they love telling stories about themselves and hearing stories about themselves. And of course, it's nice to put on stories in the CDs when you're riding in the car for them to listen to. One of my family's practices that I really love is on each person's birthday, the mother will tell the story of their birth. And every, kid and even the grown-ups, they really love hearing the story of their birth told over and over again. Children love to hear the story of their birth because it makes them know how important they were and that you've remembered every detail of their birth because they were such an important event. So there are daily routines. We can build language and literacy into daily routines throughout the day. You can start in the morning. Kids love to have schedules, and I oftentimes will create a visual schedule. I'll write out for my grandchildren. Here's what we're going to do today. Here's first, here's second. And you can talk about the schedule you've created. It's comforting for children to have a daily routine. It helps them to predict and look forward to the events. It provides for consistent use of objects. It exposes them to vocabulary associated with that activity. If we're going to eat breakfast, you talk about the foods and what we're going to do to get ready. And if we're going to the park after that, you can talk about some of the things we're going to do at the park and use the vocabulary of swings and slides and playing with other children and, any kinds of things you find on the playground. And then it helps to build sequencing skills. It's very important for kids to know, first, we're going to eat breakfast. Then after breakfast, we're going to get in the car and we're going to drive to the park and then we're going to play at the park. And then after we finish at the park, after we finish playing, we're going to have a picnic lunch and then go through the day. It's also important in reading stories that they know what happens first, what's in the middle, and what's at the end, because we have to be able to remember a sequence, to retell a story, and to have stories make sense. Some tasks can be arranged from left to right, such as setting the table or laying out clothes, and that helps them practice moving their eyes from left to right, moving their hands from left to right, because that's how our books are set up. Cooking is a wonderful thing to do with your children. It's great to have a simple recipe. I've even had, gone online and gotten kid recipes and print them out. And you point out words in the recipes and words on the containers. And then you read the recipe. And it's wonderful to have simple children's recipes, and you can point and you can read and they can go with you. And you can sequence recipes to go, first, we're going to measure this with the measuring spoon. Next, we're going to pour it in the bowl. And then after that, we'll stir everything else in. And you can sequence things. You put emphasis on action words, pouring, stirring, mixing, and baking. And you can even talk about the temperature. When you're setting the oven, you can point out the numbers on the oven and setting timers. Measuring cups, you can talk about what a half a cup is. What's a full cup? How is one larger than the other one? And talk about the recipe and how it relates to the actions that you're doing. Shopping is a great thing to do. Make a shopping list, have a simple single words on the list. And as you go through the store, you can point to the word apple, go to the object, apple, and then you can associate that word in their minds with the actual object. That's a wonderful way for them to learn vocabulary. Then as you get the apple, you put it in your cart, you cross apple off your list. And even better, let the child put the item in the cart. They love being able to be the grown-up and do the grown-up things. So Give them the power and the choice to put the apple in the bag, put the bag in your cart. And then you can point out signs in the store. The aisles all have big signs above them, and you can tell which aisle to go down when you want fruit or when you want milk. And you can also even point out numbers for prices. You can start talking about numbers and amounts and prices. And it's a way to teach them life skills. You know, shopping is a life skill. So cooking is a life skill. All important skills that they'll have to do as they get older. And this is great, building things with your children. And in building things together, we have to follow the directions, follow the instructions. So you can point out the words and the pictures, you know, show them how to measure, talk about the vocabulary. As you see in this picture, there's a ruler, and the little girl has a pencil, and her dad is going to show her where to draw the line using the ruler, the straight edge. So she draws a straight line, and then they'll know where they're going to cut with the saw. Use the vocabulary of the nouns and the action words. They'll probably talk about the saw and have the saw there to demonstrate. And then talk about, here's the saw, and we're going to saw the wood, or we're going to draw the line, you know, use the action words. And then emphasize the sequence. First, we're going to use the straight edge. We're going to put the ruler. Next, we're going to draw the line. And once we know how to cut our edge straight, we've drawn the line. Next, then we'll actually saw along the line. Sequence first, and then next, and then next. This is great, teaching them to read community signs. And there's so many, many ways, so many opportunities as you go walking and driving through the community. Kids love to, you know, go stop. It's a stop sign. Stop the car. It's time to stop. You know, they can start to read enter, or they notice when you push the little button and the walk sign comes in. That means walk. And they see the man, the figure appear. And then don't walk. You see the hand that says stop. So those are great ways for them to learn vocabulary. Of course, everybody here, they see the Wawa and they know what the Wawa is. Wawa means fun. Wawa means fun, good stuff in there. We're going to go in and have a treat. So McDonald's, who doesn't know the McDonald's arches? You know, these are ways to just build their vocabulary more and enrich their vocabulary and enrich their experience. And labels, you can go through and put labels throughout your house. I just have stuck, you know, cards or Post-its with your names written on of things. This one is light and wall. And there are these great signs you can put on kids' rooms now, so they really learn their names and what their names look like visually. So for sound letter association, ABC, singing the ABCs and the ABC songs. As I said earlier, the single sounds and letters are the kind of fundamental building blocks. So they have to learn that first, and that this letter A has a sound. A is for ah, or A sounds like A or ah. There's a wonderful free online program called starfall.com, leapfrog magnets, and then books like Chicka Chicka Boom Boom and ABC books. The wonderful thing about Chicka Chicka Boom Boom and many other books, it's very repetitive and it's very rhythmical. And so kids really catch on to words that repeat over and over again and have a rhythm to them. There's a Dr. Seuss book that's called Hand, Hand, Fingers, Thumb. And the whole book is about rhythm, and it shows monkeys drumming on drums. I've actually read that to my kids and played a drum while I read it, and they just love rhythm. So find things that are rhythmical. So Starfall is an online program. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but I can kind of take you to show you this. It's just called starfall.com. All right, so if I click on, say, kindergarten and pre-K, let's do ABCs. So let's start with A. Here's this block, and it shows you a lowercase a. And then that's the long sound, A. But if you go here, the short sound. And shows you a picture of the apple. So Starfall has early literacy, it has numbers, it has all kinds of educational things. Apple. And then it shows you how it fits into the word. So this is a great website. It's free. Your kids will love it because it has a lot of different things they can do. It's fun and it's educational.